Today we'll be speaking about flash floods are all deaths decreed by God. So the question is, let's take a look at our sheets. Side number 1, amazing Gemara in Chagiga over here. Side number 1, Tractate Chagiga.
Does that mean party?
What? Chagiga means festival. Strange that this Gemara dealing about death and dying and the Malach HaMaves is in Tractate Chagiga, right? Strange, but anyway, Tractate Chagiga, where it's underlined in yellow. You see that? Another powerful verse, Avram. You see that? I think it's underlined in yellow. Rav Yosef Kimot Elahaikra. When Rav Yosef came to this following verse, Bachi, he wept. Because there's a pasuk in Mishlei, it says, V'yesh nispeh below mishpat. There is someone who swept away without judgment. Pasuk in Mishlei 13, V'yesh nispeh below mishpat. There is one who succumbs without mishpat. What does mishpat mean? Judgment. Very strange. How could that be? Look at footnote 39. See footnote 39? There are those who die with no sins in their hands, and so their demise is without justification. Wow. The verse speaks of dying before one's time, inasmuch as yesh nispa, there is one who succumbs, implies a premature death. So what does that mean? Isn't everything controlled by God? Hakol b'dei shamayim chutz meyirat shamayim. How do we make sense of this? And how do we tie it in with the tragedy of last week? 10 lives were snuffed out. The Gemara goes on the right side. I think it's underlined in yellow, Mickey. No, Kihod Rav Bibi Barabaya. See Bibi? Yeah. Not our prime minister. This was 2,000 years ago. Rav Bibi Barabaya. How did Avram? Haveshchiach Gabei Malach HaMaves. He had a visitor who would come visit him. Who was he?
The angel of death.
The angel of death would come visit Rav Bibi. Wow, very strange, don't you think? Now what happened? So the Malach HaMaves is telling his escapades to Rav Bibi. You hear this? The Gemara relates the story. Amalei Lashluche. On one occasion, the angel of death said to his agent, Zil aitili Miriam Magdala Seir Nashaya. Go and bring me the soul of Miriam, the braider of woman's hair. The Malach HaMaves told his agent, her number is up. Tulsa says, who is this Miriam Magdala? Mary Magdalene. Tulsa says that Miriam Magdala, Abraham, is no other than what? Mary Magdalene, the mother of what? J.C. Penney.
Whoa.
Ooh.
She was a braider of woman's hair.
She was a braider of woman's hair. Okay, Tulsa says this is the mother of J.C., Mary Magdalene. So the angel of death sent his agent to go pick her up. Her time is up. Azal atele Miriam Magdala de Darke. However, the agent went and instead brought him the long Miriam, the Ganenet, the caretaker of young children. You hear this? Amalei, so the angel said to his agent, Ana Miriam Magdala Seir Nishayim. I told you to bring me the soul of Miriam, the hairdresser. You dummy. Good help is hard to find. An incredible Gemara here, Yosef. The angel of death took the wrong one. He was supposed to get Miriam, the hairdresser, and instead he got Miriam, the Ganenet. Huh? I told you to bring me the Miriam, the braider of woman's hair. The hairdresser, and instead you brought me the wrong Miriam, you dummy. Amalei, so the angel of death, the agent said to the angel, If so, I shall what? Sounds like a Twilight Zone, Avram. If so, I shall return this other Miriam to life and go get the right one. Amalei, the angel of death, told him, Hayil, what? Since you have already brought her here, then what? Let her be numbered among the dead. Very strange, bizarre Gemara, don't you see?
What was the Miriam, the caretaker of the kids?
Some Miriam, a ganenet. But how could you die before your time? For her time was not up. How could the Malachim of us take her? It's a question on the table. See how it ties into our situation over here. If these kids, was their time up?
No.
So how could they die before the time? The Gemara here in Chagiga deals with this question. See, everything is in the Talmud Av, and you just have to know what? Where to look. So anyway, so this is the escapade that the angel of death told over to Rav Bibi. So Rav Bibi asked our Kasha Mikimya, if it was not her time to die, right? Then Zishal, how are we able to take her? No one can go against Hashem. If her time was not up, how could the angel of death take the wrong Miriam if her time was not up? So what did the angel respond? Havis Nikita Matora Biyada. She, Miriam the Ganenet, she was holding a hot poker in her hand.
What's a hot poker?
A hot poker,
Push around the rock.
where you push around the charcoal, the logs.
Like a metal
A metal stick in her hand, and as she was extending it into the oven, turn over please, and sweeping out the oven, shekalta nachta agaba dekara. She then removed the hot poker, the hot metal stick, from the oven, and by accident she put it on what? On top of her foot. She was engaged in reckless, careless, self-destructive behavior. Are you going to blame God? Kotcha vitara mazala. She burnt herself, and her mazel was thereby what? Impaired. A person can be written down that he should live out the year healthy, wealthy, and wise. But if he engages in self-destructive, careless, reckless behavior,
Like smoking cigarettes, for example.
then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, why are you blaming me? Now, weather, bad weather, good weather, that's an act of a God. But the decision of where and when to hike is up to a human being. You're going to go hike in a riverbed when you know there's flash floods. The day before, 2 people were swept away.
Crazy.
Day before, 2 people were swept away over there.
I know.
You're going to go bungee jumping without a parachute, and you want to blame God?
But they were following orders. Somebody
Follow orders, jump out the window. Following orders.
Come on, these were kids. These were
18-year-old, they even text, we're going to die.
That's right.
So why are you jumping out of a parachute without a window? Your madrich says jump out of the window. Are you going to listen?
No, but still, I think like still.
They're 18 years old, and the day before, 2 people were swept away. Let's go on with the Gemara and see what the Gemara says over here. So Rabbi Barabaya said to the angel of death, do you have permission to act in this manner? Can you take someone's life even though Hashem doesn't want it? Amalei, what did the angel answer? Below ksiv v'yesh nispeh below mishpat. There's a pasuk in Mishlei. Is it not written that there is someone who swept away without justification? Amalei, Rabbi said to the angel of death, "V'ksiv dar halach dar ba." But it's written elsewhere in Kohelet, a generation goes and a generation what? Comes, which implies that each generation must complete its allotted time before it is replaced. Omar, so the angel of death said to him, I take those souls along with me. What does that mean? Until they have completed a generation. Until, look at footnote 7, until the years allotted to them have passed. And only then do I deliver them to Duma. Who is Duma? Footnote 8. who was Duma, was an angel who was the keeper of the dead. If one passed away before his allotted time, his soul would wander about until his years were completed, and it was then consigned to the angel Duma, who's in charge of what? Of the dead.
I'm going to ask you a crazy question.
What? The whole story is very bizarre.
Are you referring to ghosts here?
That's true.
Yeah. Amalei, Rabbi said to the angel of death, be that as it may, what do you do with the person's unfinished years on earth? Hashem allotted him X amount of years, and he engaged in reckless behavior, self-destructive behavior, so he died before his time. What happens to the amount of years that he was supposed to live out? So the angel replied, if there is a young rabbinic scholar who is a forgiving person, then I add those years to him, and he is the dead's replacement. Very strange, right? We'll explain. Try to explain. Anyway, first of all, look at footnote 10. See footnote 10? In truth, one who dies prematurely because he engaged in reckless behavior has a legitimate complaint. Perhaps if he would have used those lost years to repent of his misspent life, in order to compensate the prematurely dead, the angel of death does what? Searches specifically for a rabbinical scholar, for as a sage ages, he focuses completely on learning Torah and performing mitzvot. Therefore, a young Torah scholar will use his windfall of added years wisely. And the prematurely dead will share in the merit and reward the scholar earns during those additional years, for they originally belonged to him. It is for this reason that the scholar must also be a forgiving person, for he must willingly relinquish a portion of his reward so that the dead can what? Receive what's going on over here, okay? So to try to understand this, we have to what? Ask many other questions. A Jew always answers questions, Masha, with what? With another question. If you look in the book of Shmuel, God tells Shmuel, go and anoint David to be what? The future king of Israel. So in the book of Shmuel, chapter 16, Shmuel says, how can I go? If Shaul hears I'm going to anoint what?
Another person.
A successor, he'll kill me. He's talking to God. God said, go and anoint another king instead of what? Shaul. So Shmuel says, wait a minute, God. I can't go. King David reads the Jewish press. He finds out I'm going to anoint another king. He's going to kill me. But who's telling you to go? God. And yet he says, I can't go because I'm putting my life in what? Danger. So God says, you know, you're right. Take an eglas bokor, take along what? A young cow with you. You put an ad in the Jewish press that I'm coming not to anoint the king, I'm coming to what? To do a sacrifice to Hashem. So God told him to what? Lie in order to save his life. But if no one can harm you unless God decreed it, why was Samuel afraid? And why did God have to tell him to make up a, how do you say, Bubba Maisa? Very strange. Samuel 1, chapter 16, very strange. To make it even stranger, remember, David counted Israel. Remember that? David counted Israel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the prophet Gad to give him a choice of punishment. This is in Samuel 24, and we say it Avram every day by the Tachnun. So the prophet Gad gave him a choice. What did the prophet give him a choice? Yomid el God. Do you want to be punished by man, or do you want to be punished by what? God. This is the Tachnun, Samuel 24. Vayomer David. And David said to the prophet God, Niplona biyad Hashem. Let me rather fall into what? Into God's hands, because his mercy is what? Bountiful. And let me not fall into the hands of what? Of a human being. Wait a minute, Avram. If everything is in the hand of God anyway, so what difference does it make whether God punishes David directly or whether he does it through what? A human agent. And this idea is so important, we say it every day in the Tachnun. Right? It's Samuel 24. Vayomer David el Gad, Tzar li me'od. Rather let me fall into the hands of Hashem, because His mercy is unlimited, and let me not fall into the hands of a human being. But if everything is in the hands of God anyway, so what difference does it make? You hear the question, Yosef, on the table?
Yes.
So, on Rosh Hashanah, don't we say who will live and who will die? Don't we say that? Are all deaths divinely decreed? Mm-hmm. So why did God, the prophet, give David a choice to be punished by God or man if it's all the same? And why give him a choice? And why did David say, I'd rather be punished by Hashem and not by man, when it's Hakol b'dei Shemayim? Anything in the hands of God anyway, right? Very difficult, right? So no, before we answer, we have to make it more difficult, right? Before we answer.
The angel of death, Malachim Moses.
Yeah, he's God's robot.
Is that Sutton?
That's Sutton. He wears two hats.
He's
He's the angel of death. He's the Malach HaMaves. He's the Yetzer Hara. I think he wears three hats.
Did you get down? I wasn't aware. Did you get down to this part where it says on note number 11?
Yeah.
The verse refers to God's statement that the Son had tricked him.
So that's a whole different topic. What if the Sutton had tricked him?
Well, who could trick?
How could anybody trick God, right? How could anybody? Of course, it's an allegory. Who is Satan? Glad you asked. Christians believe that Satan is an independent being. That's classic idolatry. We believe that Satan is what? The Midas Hadin. That's all part of God Himself.
His messenger.
His messenger, His robot, but even more than that. Fasten your seatbelts.
It's His good messenger.
It's more than that. In Pashas Miketz, you don't have it on your sheets. In Pashas Miketz, background music. Yaakov's family is starving. They're running out of food. So Yaakov sends his sons down to Egypt to buy food, but he doesn't send Benji. Because he says, Pen Yukrenu Ason. I can't send Benji down. Perhaps an accident will happen to him on the road. So I'm not going to send Benjamin down with you. You hear this, Yisrael? So Rashi says, Uba bayit lo. Doesn't Yaakov know the Mishnah on Rosh Hashanah? On Rosh Hashanah it's ordained who will live and who will die, who will have an accident or not. If Benji has to have an accident, it's all written down when? Rosh Hashanah. So why is Yaakov keeping Benji home? If he has to have an accident, he can slip in the shower and break his neck. That's Rashi's question in Pashas Miketz. Isn't everything recorded by what? By God. So Rashi says, Hasoten mikatreg b'shat haskana. Satan prosecutes when a person puts himself in danger.
He's somewhat like Moloch.
Satan mikatreg. So yes, says Rashi. Benjamin was supposed to live out the year. But if he goes on a dangerous journey, then God says, what are you blaming me for? Now, who is Satan? Rashi says in Masechta Shabbat Peites that Satan is the Midas Hadin. Satan is Midas Hadin, as opposed to Midas Harachamim. Again, in Parshas Kiteitzei, it says when you go to war against your enemy, you shall guard yourself and don't commit any evil deed. In Parshas Kiteitzei it says, Abraham, when you go to war against your enemy, be careful to behave yourself, not to commit what? An evil deed. So Rashi wonders, and if you're not going to war, you're allowed to commit what? An evil deed. So Rashi says again, Satan mikatreg b'shas haskana. Satan prosecutes when a person is engaged in what? In reckless, self-destructive behavior. Careless, reckless behavior.
So the,
Wait a minute, I'm going to give an answer. First, I have to build up, okay? Of course, you cannot commit evil anytime. But if you're committing evil when you're in a dangerous situation, then you're going to get whacked, which you might not have get whacked when you're engaged in what? In cautious behavior. And we'll explain why. In Parshas Kiteitzei, there's a mitzvah when you build or buy an apartment with a flat roof, or you have a porch or a swimming pool, you have to what? Put a fence on the roof or on the porch or the swimming pool. The Torah says, Ki yipol hanofel. That's what it says, Avram. The one who's destined to fall is going to fall. That's exactly what it says if you don't read the English. You read the Hebrew, Ki yipol hanofel. You have to put a fence on your roof, your porch, or on the swimming pool, because the one who's destined to fall is going to fall. So Rashi wonders, what do you mean the one who has to fall is going to fall? So Rashi wonders, it's written down on Rosh Hashanah, this guy's going to fall off a roof. Why do I have to spend $1,200 to put a fence? Ki yipol hanofel. It's written down in Rosh Hashanah that this guy's going to fall off the roof. So why spend $1,200? So how do we explain this, right? Very difficult to try to understand. A person has free will. A person has free will to do the right thing. When Cain killed Hevel, remember that?
Yeah.
God confronted him. Remember, Zishal? Do you know what he said to God? Hashem ochi anochi. No one can move a muscle without you. You control the universe. It's not my job to protect Hevel. If you wanted Hevel alive, he'd what? He'd be alive. If he's dead, I just did your will. Nothing happens without you.
Wow.
This is what Cain said. Hashem ochi anochi. Right? Nothing happens without you. You know, the Mendez brothers shotgunned their parents to death, and then the lawyer pleaded they're orphans now. So you have to be merciful with them. So Avram, is Cain right? Hashem ochi anochi? Huh? So Reb Sadia Gon in Munas V'dei it says, when A kills B, the death is the Ritzeach. The murder is from the Ritzeach. The victim was going to die anyway, but God didn't want him to die through murder. Remember Sonny Bono? He went skiing, went right into a tree.
Yeah.
I remember that. God wanted Hevel dead, but God never said that you have to kill him. Maybe he will die in a skiing accident. If you killed him, you're a murderer. You're guilty.
anyone wants Sonny Bono.
What? L'kimin aliyado. So Cain said, God, it's your fault. God said, it's not my fault. Yeah, I wanted Hevel dead, but I wanted him to die through an accident. If you killed him, you're a free agent, and you are chayev mitah because you engaged in what? In illegal behavior.
So what should he have done? Should he have gone,
What?
Should he have gone to Hashem and said, Hashem, how do you want him killed?
I did you a favor. I killed him. I did your will. Hashem does what he has to do, but I have to do lo tirtzach. I'm not allowed to commit murder. So if Cain committed murder, he's guilty. A person that's a righteous person, Hashem sends him opportunities of what? Of chesed and merit. He still has free will to ignore it. A person's an evil person, Hashem will present to him what? Evil opportunities. He still has free will. So how do we say it? Midas hadin, midas harachamim. Very strange. Very strange. It gets even stranger in Parshas Bo, Avram. Remember in Parshas Bo? The Torah says in Parshas Bo that what? that you shouldn't leave your house on Pesach night. Remember the Torah tells us that in Parshas Bo? Don't leave your house when? On Pesach night. Why? Why does the Torah tell us that? In Parshas Bo, V'atem lo teitzu mi Pesach beito ad boker. The Jews have to stay locked up in their house on Pesach night in Cairo. Don't go out until the morning. Says Rashi, why? Once God gave Satan, the angel of death, permission to terrorize, Einoi mafkin bein tzadik l'rasha. That makes sense to you? Kivin shenit reshus l'mashkes l'chabel, Einoi mafkin bein tzadik l'rasha. That he doesn't distinguish between what? If a person is in a dangerous matzav, then tzadik or rasha, what happens? How could that be? Who is Midas Adin and who is Midas Arachamim? And what does Yaakov Avinu say that if I keep Benjamin home, he'll be protected? If I send him on the road, an accident will happen. It's written down Rosh Hashanah, will accident happen home or not home? Satan mekatvek b'shas haskana. How come for the other brothers it was okay to go on the road, Masha? The other brothers went. For the who does Benjamin come from? Rachel. Rachel died on the road. Yosef got kidnapped on the road. For the family of Rachel, somehow the road is bad karma. For Benjamin to go on the road, he is engaging in reckless, careless behavior. So if Benjamin would stay home, he would be protected. If he'd go on the road, for him it's reckless, careless behavior, he would have an accident and die. Satan mekatreg b'shas haskana. Satan prosecutes when a person is in what? Engages in reckless, self-destructive behavior. Who is Satan? Rashi says in Masechta Shabbat that Satan is Midas Hadin. It's all God. But God reacts to the way we react. Try to put it in my own words. When a person is engaged in cautious behavior, he doesn't smoke and he takes care of his weight and he has doctor checkups and he keeps his head down, even though he commits sins, Midas HaRachamim will protect him. How do you say Midas HaRachamim? God's tender love. Because God is our parent. So we are engaged in what? In cautious behavior, taking care of ourselves. Even though when we do sin, Midas HaRachamim will protect us. Because God's a loving Father. But if a person engages in reckless, self-destructive, careless behavior, God is saying, you are forcing me, Kavayochel, to switch off Midas HaRachamim and turn on what? What's another name for Midas Hadin? Satan. The analogy is, Avram, anybody like to be audited? If you get an audit, they're going to find something. Right, David? Chas v'sholom. You get an audit. If we engage in reckless, self-destructive behavior, we are forcing God, Kavayachol, to give us an audit. Lo yaleinu. That's Midas Hadin. It's all God. Engaged in reckless behavior, Hashem is saying, you're forcing me to audit you. What's another name for audit? Midas Hadin. You are protecting yourself and you're doing what you have to do. God protects those, Avram, who protect themselves. Then Midas HaRachamim will protect us even when we don't deserve it, because God is the Av HaRachamim. For sure, it's written down a person has to live out the year because God's a loving Father. But if he engages in reckless behavior and destructive behavior or careless behavior, then God says, you're forcing me to switch off Midas HaRachamim and Chas v'Sholom turn on Midas Hadin. Another name for Midas Hadin, Rabbi Yaakov, is Satan. It's all God. Which hat does God wear? It depends on my behavior. The awesome power of a human being. Right? Midas harachim is tender love. Chas v'sholom midas hadin, chas v'sholom, that's what? That's an audit. If they audit you, they're going to find something. Because there's a posting in Koheles, Adam ein tzadik boretz asher yasa tov v'lo yachta. Right, Larry? No human being is completely what? Innocent. Adam ein tzadik boretz. There's no human being that does only right and doesn't sin. But if you are engaged in what? Cautious behavior, you're taking care of yourself, then the midas harachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will protect you, which father won't. But if you're engaged in reckless behavior, then God says, you are forcing me, chas v'sholom, to audit you. That's midas hadin. I didn't want that, God said. But you forced my hand when you engaged in reckless behavior, so you forced the midas hadin to kick in. And who can withstand din? Strict judgment. Because every person does some sin, which normally God would overlook. So therefore, when you go out to war, the Torah says, be careful not to commit any evil deed. So Rashi wonders, so when you're not going to war, you're allowed to do evil deed, Aram? No. Sote mikatvek b'shas haskana. So if the soldier was not engaged in reckless, self-destructive, careless behavior, that he has to go to war, so even though if he does a sin, Hashem will be lenient with him. But once he's engaged in what? In a dangerous situation, Satan, the midas hadin, will prosecute him right away. And therefore, in a war situation or any dangerous situation, a person has to be extra careful, extra cautious, because then midas hadin, the audit kicks in. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But God reacts to my behavior. The awesome power of a human being to decide which hat God will wear. The midas harachim hat, or chas v'sholom lo yaleinu, midas hadin hat. What's another name for midas hadin? Satan.
So you're saying Hashem is Satan? I mean, tell me, is that what you're saying, Rabbi? He's different from other angels? Or is he just another angel?
Now you're forcing my hand.
Yeah, what are you saying?
In the book of Job, Satan comes to God, right? And who is God debating with? The Satan, himself.
No.
Yes.
No.
Himself.
That's not good news.
It's all God. It's better news. It's all God. But when God punishes, that's the Satan, chas v'sholom. It's all God. But God reacts to my behavior. So if I'm engaged in reckless, dangerous behavior, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you are forcing me to play the Satan role. Chas v'sholom lo yaleinu. It's all God. When God writes us down for a good year, and He wants that, that's if we do ours. You take your checkups, you eat healthy, right? You don't eat too much schmaltz herring, too many pastrami sandwiches, right? Then God says, my midas harachim will protect you because you are protecting yourself. But if you're not worried about your life, you are engaged in reckless, dangerous behavior, you're forcing me to audit you. And every person has some sin. So then the midas hadin prosecutes.
Is he an angel?
Rashi says that Satan is midas hadin. Don't blame me. It's Rashi Tractate Shabbos, page 89. That Satan is the midas hadin. It's all God, but God reacts to the way we behave. What did Job do so bad? Right?
Yeah, what did he do?
He didn't do anything wrong. Nachmanides says the whole book was written to teach the doctrine of Gilgul Neshamot, reincarnation. The great Nachmanides, Rabbeinu Bechai, he did nothing wrong. But the book was written to teach that when a righteous person suffers, it means he's a, how do you say Gilgul in English?
That's right.
A reincarnated soul.
So that's what we believe that he was?
Well, Nachmanides says so, Rabbeinu Bechai. There is no other way to explain the suffering of Job. Job is any human being. Job is not even Jewish. Job is not even Jewish, because the problem of why the righteous suffer, David, is not just a Jewish problem. It's a problem for the whole world. Why do righteous people suffer? Who's more righteous than a child? Right? And people get swept away in floods, and even if they're engaged not in dangerous behavior. So then the answer is reincarnation. Reincarnation. The neshama comes down here to do a tikkun. And once the tikkun is done, beam me up. So that's when a person was engaged not in reckless behavior. A cautious person.
Okay, so
That he died by accident, then the answer is Gilgal. But if a person is engaged in self-destructive behavior, then Hashem says it's his fault, not mine.
Okay.
He forced the audit.
just tell me if I'm right.
Go ahead.
Right. God as a whole creates an angel, which is part of him.
That's right.
Every angel is a part of him, including
Right.
the son.
That's right.
He created the angel of death.
Right.
He created the angels who met Abraham in the desert when they came in to tell him that Sodom. So I understand that part. It's not that God isn't, he's the evil one. He created the angel.
God creates evil. Isaiah 45. God says, Yotze ora borech choshech, Yotze or Avram. I form light uborech choshech, and I create what? Darkness. Ose shalom ubore ra. Ani Hashem ose kol eleh. Isaiah 45. I create evil. Ani Hashem.
And the Christians think that the angel of death.
That's classic idolatry. To think that the Satan acts independently, that's classic idolatry.
So
It's all God, but God reacts to the way I behave. It's incredible.
Maybe.
Now, one of the things that got the Rambam in hot water, the Moreh Nevuchim in hot water,
Because he said it was a story.
because there's an opinion in the Talmud the whole thing is just an allegory. And the Rambam writes in Moreh Nevuchim that anyone who believes the story is literal is a fool.
Oh, really?
It's obviously an allegory. Now, those are very strong words, because there are opinions in the Talmud that what? That it's an actual story. The Rambam writes, according to the opinion, it's only an allegory. And he says, those who believe it actually happened is a fool. Now, that's one of the reasons the Moreh Nevuchim was banned. So the Rambam says it's an allegory. Because the Talmud debates, he lived in this time, he lived in that time, and this time, and that time. The Rambam says Job is any human being who suffers and he doesn't know why. Job is a story, and therefore the character is not Jewish. It's a universal problem. Any person that suffers and he has absolutely no idea what he did wrong. So the answer is Gilgal. Reincarnation.
Believe in Gilgal.
He's a Jew.
Nachmanides, Rabbeinu Bechai, the Ari, right? They say that it's a ikar doctrine of the Jewish religion is to believe in the reincarnation.
Right.
Otherwise, how do you explain the suffering of innocent children? Who's more innocent than a child?
Yeah.
So the Nachmanides and Rabbeinu Bechai and the Ari and the Vilna Gaon and the Evan Shlema, they all say that the answer is Gilgal. The neshama comes down here to do a tikkun, even though it's perfectly righteous, no more righteous than a child, to do a tikkun for some past mistakes. And when the tikkun is done, beam me up.
That's what I think with these kids, is that the Madhukim tell them you're going.
You're going.
That's it. They
Well, you're going, but
go because
stick your head in an oven and turn on the heat. That's what they told them. Go into a riverbed knowing the day before two Bedouin was swept away there. So they're 18 years old. Where are you going? Hello?
They did have a
I
lot
think
of
that the Madhukim was shlichim for bad things to happen. Why would they be shlichim?
Why would they do shluchim? Right? Right? I'm going to put a fence on my roof, even though the person has to fall, will fall off somebody else's roof, but not my roof. Right? The Galdan is chusay de zakai. I'm a righteous person, so Kodesh Baruch Hu will send me what kind of packages to deliver? Good packages. Still have free will not to deliver it. But a wicked person, Hashem will send him wicked opportunities. He'll still have free will to refuse. But the way we behave in life depends on the opportunities that we get to be good or bad. You still have free will. God wanted Hevel dead, right? But Cain didn't have to kill him. Hevel would have died in a skiing accident. If Cain killed him, then he's what?
Guilty.
He's guilty. Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon says as follows: Emunat v'deot, Yiddish Yisrael. My bechira, how do you say that in English? My free choice can only affect me, not the one I hurt. If I choose not to, that guy would get the tsar through another shliach. Har b'shluchim lamokim. But if I did it, I'm guilty of sin. Cain says to God, it's your fault. If you wanted him alive, he'd be alive. That's no answer. God said, don't mix in my business. I wanted him to die in a skiing accident. You killed him, you're a murderer, and you'll be punished. So the message is, a person can't say, Ke sera, sera. Smoke 9 packs of cigarettes a day and say what? Well, my time is up, it's up. Avigdor Miller didn't hold to that. To get up at a funeral and to say that? They're all being maspit, this great Rosh Hashiva. You know this, Reb Shalom? Avigdor Miller Zatzal says, you want to blame HaKadosh Baruch Hu? He smoked like a chimney. Even though it was the great Rosh Hashiva, it's his fault.
But it wasn't.
Rabbi Tat says the same.
Well, it's not his fault. It's his fault. Hashem wanted him to take arsenic. Hashem wanted him to poison himself. What? His time was not up. That's the whole thing. Benjamin, Hashem wanted him to live longer. He caused his time to be up. He caused the Satan to prosecute him. Why did Yaakov not send Benjamin on the road? If an accident has to happen, it won't happen in the living room. No, in the living room it won't happen. Because Midas Harachamim, but you send Benjamin on the road, for him it's a dangerous situation, all bets are off. And therefore a chayal in a war situation has to be extra careful not to commit a sin. Because in a peacetime, Hashem will overlook it, because of Harachamim. But in a dangerous war situation, God examines with a microscope. I think you call that audit. Who can withstand that? So the Torah says, when you go to war, God says, be extra careful. Be on your best behavior. You don't want me to audit you, do you? What's another name for audit? Midas Hadin. Satan. God reacts to our behavior. We create our own reality, the awesome power of a human being, to decide whether God would Midas Harachamim or Chas v'Sholom lo yaleinu Midas Hadin. A guy smokes like a chimney. What do you expect? Rabbi Miller Zatzal said. We should know from it. Hashem should save us from these trials and tribulations. Thursday at 2:00. Thursday we start at 2:00. Thank you.